My sincere apology if you do find the contents of this talk as too much or too heavy. Every time I tried to water it down, I lost its meanings and I get deeply perplexed. All the things I'm going to mention in this talk comes from the writings of our faith, revealed by the central figures of the faith. These central figures are the Bab, the Forerunner, Baha'u'llah, the Prophet Founder, and Abdu'l-Baha, the center of the covenant. One of the reasons why these central figures of the faith reveal these teachings is because we now do have the capacity to understand them. And if we don't understand these teachings when we read them, maybe we are not reading them in a way that Shoghi Effendi tells us how we should read these writings and these prayers. And that is, we read it with reverence, attention, and thought. I'll tell you a little story. For a number of years I've been saying my noon obligatory prayer at work straight after I bought my lunch. And my lips would say, I bear witness, O my God, thou hast created me to know thee and worship thee. But my head is thinking of those juicy sausages I've just bought for my lunch. Reverence, absolutely nothing. Attention is totally out of the question. Thoughts, absolutely zero. I have learned it's best for me to eat my lunch first before I sing my prayers. Nothing worse than praying with an empty stomach. As previously mentioned, all the things that I'm going to mention in these talks comes from the writings of our faith revealed by the central figures of the faith. So any accolades, compliments, or applause from you guys goes to the central figures of the faith. They are the one that reveal these teachings. I just happen to be able to remember them and convey them. I'm saying that because I'm terrified to death of having pride entering my head. In a letter from Shoghi Effendi to an individual, he said, if any one of them, referring to all of us Baha'is, even for a second consider his success as due to his own capacity, his work is ended and his fall starts. You can see why I am terrified to death of having pride entering my head, because if it does, I'll be a big-headed person and my work is ended and my fall will start. I like to begin my remarks today by talking about how to understand intellectual realities. Outward forms and symbols must be used to convey intellectual conceptions. Knowledge is said to be of two kinds. One is knowledge of things perceptible to the senses, that is to say, things which the eye or ear or smell or taste or touch can perceive, which are called objective or sensible. The sun is sensible because it can be seen. Sound is sensible because we can hear it. Perfumes are sensible because it can be inhaled and a sense of smell perceive it. Food are sensible because the palate can perceive its sweetness, sourness, and saltiness. Heat and cold are sensible because the feelings perceive them. These are what they called objective or sensible realities. The other kind of knowledge is intellectual. That is to say, it is a reality of the intellect, and it has no outward form, no symbol, and it's not perceptible to the senses. For instance, the power of the intellect is not sensible. On the contrary, it's an intellectual reality. Love is a mental reality. And with this reality, the eye does not see, the ear does not hear, the smell does not perceive, the taste does not discern, and the feelings does not receive. In the same way, the human spirit is an intellectual reality. But to explain these intellectual realities, one is obliged to use outward forms and symbols. For instance, grief and happiness are intellectual realities. To explain them, we would say the heart is oppressed, enlarged, and broken. Although the heart is not physically oppressed, enlarged, and broken into pieces, but we use these outward forms and symbols to explain intellectuals' realities. All living things signifies composition, and their death, decomposition. But the universal elements or atoms do not become absolutely annihilated and destroyed. No, their non-existence is simply transformation. For instance, when man's physical body is annihilated, it becomes dust. It does not become absolutely non-existent. It still exists in the shape of dust, but transformation has taken place. So this composition is accidentally decomposed. The annihilations of all other beings are the same, for existence does not become absolute non-existence, and absolute non-existence does not become existence. Fundamentally, all existing things pass through the same degree and phases of development. The cellular elements or atoms that enter the combination of human organism were one time part of the mineral kingdoms. Whilst in that kingdoms, it went through myriads of changes in the evolution of that kingdoms, that these atoms eventually become part of the nutrients of the soil. And the roots of the trees and plants absorb these nutrients to its kingdoms, and these atoms are now transferred to the vegetable kingdoms. And the animals consume the fruits of these trees and plants, and these atoms are now transferred to the animal kingdoms. And we humans consume the meat of the animals as well as the fruits of these trees and plants, and these atoms are now transferred to the human kingdoms. And when we die, our physical body begins the process of decomposition, and these atoms are now transferred from the human kingdom back to the mineral kingdoms. This cycle of transferring of the atoms is continuously in a perfect regularity and in a perfect order. It's clear from these explanations that the fundamental elements or atoms or universal elements do not become absolutely annihilated and destroyed. No, their non-existence is simply transformation. Now the question, is there a God? Well, the short answer is, yes, there is a God. One of the proofs and demonstration of the existence of God is the fact that man did not create himself. Nay, his creator and designer is another than himself. It is certain and indisputable that the creator of man is not like man, because a powerless creature cannot create another being. The maker, the creator, has to possess all perfections in order that he may create. Can a creation be perfect and a creator imperfect? That is to say, can the picture be a masterpiece and the painter imperfect of his art? For it is his art and his creation. Moreover, the picture cannot be like the painter, otherwise the painting would have created itself. No matter how perfect the picture can be, in comparison with the painter, it is in the utmost degree of imperfection. Contingency is the origin of imperfections, and God is the origin of perfections. The imperfections of the contingent world are in themselves the proofs of the perfections of God. For instance, there exist in the world weaknesses, then necessarily there must be power. For without power, weakness would not be understood. There exist in the world ignorance, then necessarily there must be knowledge. For without knowledge, ignorance would not be realized. So there is a creation, then necessarily there must be a creator. For without a creator, creation would not come into being. It is certain that understanding is a quality of the existence of man, and man is a sign of God. Can the quality of the sign surround the creator of the sign? That is to say, can the understanding which is a quality of the existence of man comprehend God? Therefore, the essence of the divine realities is hidden from man's understanding and concealed from all comprehension. It is absolutely impossible to ascend to that plane. We see that everything that is lower cannot comprehend the reality of that which is higher. The stone, the earth, the trees, however much they evolve, cannot comprehend and understand the reality of man, and cannot imagine the power of sight, of hearing, and of the other senses. Although they are all alike created. So how can man, the created, comprehend God, the creator? So man cannot grasp the essence of divinity, but can, by his power of reasoning, by observation, by his intuitive faculties, by believing in God and have faith in him, is certain of the divine bounty, and becometh certain that though the divine reality is unseen of the eye, and the deity as intangible, yet there are conclusive spiritual proofs that assert its existence. The essence of the divine reality, however, is beyond all description. For instance, The nature of ether is unknown, but we are certain of its existence by the effect it produceth. Heat, light, and electricity as waves thereof. Through these waves we are certain of the existence of the power of ether. As we observe the outpouring of divine grace, we are certain of the existence of God. For instance, the coming together of various elements give rise to the existence of beings, and their non-existence is due to the decomposition of these constituent elements. For decomposition causes these elements to separate and disintegrate. As we observe the coming together of various elements give rise to the existence of beings, and we know beings are infinite, and we know they are the effect. How then can the cause be finite? Formation is said by Abdu'l-Baha to be of three kinds and three kinds only: accidental formation, necessary formation, and voluntary formation. The coming together of various elements to give rise to the existence of beings cannot be accidental. For every effect there must be a cause. It cannot be compulsory, for then the formation is an inherent property of the constituent part. An inherent property of a thing cannot be separated from the main thing itself. For instance, revealing things is an inherent property of light. Expanding elements is an inherent property of heat. The solar rays are the inherent properties of the sun. Under these circumstances, decomposition of any formation is impossible, for an inherent property of a thing cannot be separated from the main thing itself. That will leave us with one formation, and that is voluntary. An inner force which is described as the ancient power causes the coming together of various elements, and every formation gives rise to a distinct being. Now concerning pre-existence, which is said in our writings to be of two kinds. One is essential pre-existence, the other is phenomenal pre-existence. Essential pre-existence are the pre-existence that are not preceded by causes. Phenomenal pre-existence is the pre-existence that are preceded by causes. For the existence of everything depends upon four causes: the efficient cause, the matter, the form, and a final cause. For instance, the chair is obviously have a maker, which we call carpenter or furniture maker. The substance is plastic and steel. The form is that of a chair, and a final cause which its purpose is to be used by us to sit on it. So this chair here is really phenomenal, for its existence depends upon causes. Our existence in comparison to God is phenomenal existence, for our existence depends upon God. Now concerning proceeding or coming forth from God, there are two types of proceeding. One is proceeding through emanation, and the other is through manifestation. Proceeding through emanation is like the appearance of the painting from the painter, the appearance of the action from the actor, or the appearance of the writings from the writer, or the appearance of the discourse from the speaker. Appearance or proceeding through manifestation is like the appearance of the tree from the seed of the tree, or the flower from the seed of the flower. We could say the leaves and branches and the fruits of the trees manifest the seed of that tree. Our proceeding from God is through emanation, not manifestation. We are like the painting emanate from God the painter. We are like the discourse emanate from God the speaker. We are like the paint the we are like the actions emanate from God the actor. We are like the writings emanate from God the writer. We do not manifest God. Now we have proved for the last half an hour that God is inaccessible, indescribable, a pure essence that cannot be described, incomprehensible. How then do we know God? Let us consider the physical sun, that central orb of light and energy and heat suspended up in the atmosphere in its fixed position, have not moved down to this earth to bring its life-giving forces for us to live on this planet. No, that is absolutely impossible scenario. Common sense tells us we will be vaporized if that sun moves down to this earth. According to the calculation of astronomers, if the distance between the sun and the earth is altered in just 2%, nothing will survive on this earth. Either we freeze to death or we dissolve. Now, in order for us to receive the bounty of that central orb of light suspended up in the sky, there must be intermediaries. And these intermediaries are the solar rays. All the energy and life-giving forces that present in the sun are in the rays. And every praises that we give to the sun, we are referring to the rays. There must be intermediaries. In fact, to know God and for us to receive the bounty of God, there must be intermediaries. And these intermediaries are the manifestations, the holy prophets and manifestations of God. It is said that all the qualities and virtues that we attribute to God are only to prove that God is incapable of imperfections. God is all-wise, all-powerful, the all-knowing, the help-imperial, the self-subsisting, the loving-kindness. All these words we said to God is only to prove that God is incapable of imperfections. So how much more to prove the perfection of God? So in order for us to receive the bounty of God, there must be intermediaries. And these intermediaries are the holy manifestations. About 6,000 years ago, an intermediary named Krishna appeared in India. Then an intermediary named Abraham appeared in Arab countries. Then an intermediary named Moses that brought the Ten Commandments. Then an intermediary named Zoroaster that appeared in Persia. Then an intermediary named Buddha that championed the virtue of compassion. Then an intermediary named Jesus Christ that brought the gospel of salvation. And then an intermediary named Muhammad that brought the Quran. Then an intermediary named the Bab that brought the Bayan, and he was a forerunner of the appearance of him that God will make manifest. And today that intermediary is the blessed beauty, His Holiness, Baha'u'llah. Baha'u'llah is the universal manifestation of the Adamic cycle. Baha'u'llah's mission is to establish the everlasting kingdom of God on earth. Everlasting here meaning a long period of time. Baha'u'llah brought a cycle that will last 500,000 years, and 500,000 years in this physical world's term is a very, very long period of time. Baha'u'llah teaches that humanity are fundamentally one, and that religions are fundamentally one. But the differences that does exist among religions today is due mainly to the dogmatic interpretations of their writings by the followers. Baha'u'llah teaches that the earth is but one country and mankind its citizens. But mankind arose and divided up these one countries into sections of land and put artificial boundaries between them and named them New Zealand, Australia, America, Canada, India, Pakistan, Iraq, Iran, Russia, Germany, Samoa. And then they fight and kill each other and spill each other's blood for the sake of this piece of land. That if you reflect on our life on this earth, our life on earth is only for a very short time, and then we die. And the piece of land that we spill each other's blood for becomes our resting place forever. In other words, it becomes our tomb. Is it conceivable for man that does possess a divine reality that... I'm coming to the conclusions of my remarks. And before I sit down, I'll tell you these tributes to Baha'u'llah and his teaching and his message from a queen, a university scholar, and a poet. Edward Granville Brown, a scholar of Cambridge University of England, met Baha'u'llah in Akka and wrote, "The face of him whom I gazed, I can never forget. Though I cannot describe it, those piercing eyes seems to read one's very soul. Power and authority set on that ample brow, and the deep lines on the forehead and face implied an age, the jet black hair and beard flowing down in indistinguishable luxuriance close to the waist, seemed to belie. No need to ask whose presence I stood, as I bow myself before the one who is the object of devotion and love, which kings might envy, and emperors sigh for in vain. Queen Marie of Romania, in her visit to America and Canada, wrote, which was published in the Toronto Daily Times and the Philadelphia Evening Bulletin. A woman has brought me the other day a book. I spelled it in capital letters because it is a glorious book of love and goodness, of strength and beauty. I commend it to you all. If ever the name of Baha'u'llah or Abdu'l-Baha comes to your attention, do not put their writings from you. Search out their books, and let their glorious, peace-bringing, love-creating words and lessons sink into your hearts as they have into mine. One's busy life is too full for religion. One's religion may satisfy, but the teachings of these gentle, wise, and kindly men are compatible with all religions and of no religion. Seek them and be the happier. Last but not least, Count Leo Tolstoy, a Russian poet and philosopher, wrote, "We spend all our times in our lives trying to solve the mysteries of the universe. But there is a Persian prisoner in Akka, Baha'u'llah in the Holy Land, who has the key." And he went further on and said, "The teachings of Baha'u'llah shows us now the purest and highest form of religious teachings." Thank you. Allah Akbar.